Hey, welcome back. It's Michelle. I'm so excited you're here with me today. It is the very end of May, and so I'm going to be talking about the energies of June via human design and astrology, combining the both. And of course, as most of us know, we have entered into the age of Gemini. It is Gemini season, my friends. So let's think about that just for as the is the overlapping energy that's available to everybody. So when we think Gemini, what do we think? We think the twins. We think intellectual. It's ruled by Mercury, which is, communication, and it has to do with teaching and learning. And, fun. Geminis have a very fun, potent energy to themselves. You guys are, if you are a Gemini, hey, happy birthday to you. Learning, writing, and interacting, it also has to do with siblings, communication, and in human design, most of this means that a lot of our throat region in human design chart is going to be lit up at some point in time during this season of Gemini. What does that mean? It means high power manifestation time is happening now in June. So when we think about Geminis, we also have to remember it's a very much mutable sign, which means that for the collective, learning to go with the flow instead of getting yourself hooked up on how you think things should be is probably going to drive you nuts. So if you have a lot of any of the very earth signs in your chart, going the flow, or if you have a lot of fours in your lines in human design, going the flow sometimes is not the easiest thing for you. But in general, if you're going along on one way, because that's what Geminis are great at, they can pivot quickly. And I would say that the communication style sometimes too with a Gemini's energy is that they can talk pretty much about anything in short quibbits. It may not necessarily be a time that you're going to go into deep, long, lengthy conversations, but you're going to have this sense of possibly being more in the community. That's the energy of what Gemini gives all of us. Like, I want to be with people. I want to have conversation with people. I want to learn. I want to go into different directions that maybe I've never gone in before. And because Geminis are, like I said, heavily dominate the gates that are in our throat center in human design, we will see a lot of potential for manifestations, along with Jupiter being in the sign of Gemini. So what I would say is, if you know how to read the house placements in astrology, be sure to take a look at where your Jupiter, which looks like a number 4 in your chart, take a look at where that's at, because it should be in the sign of Gemini, but check out the house placement. So house placements are typically like the third layer, in my opinion. The third layer of how it is that you might be sampling this energy of expansion. So everyone's got this energy, and that's the thing that I always love to remind everybody. Like, we have to look at it for ourselves, but then we have to look at it from the global. So there's going to be a lot of spoken words from other people, and Geminis can have a tendency to be a little dramatic, especially if you have gate 56 coming out of up to your throat center. Sometimes there can be a little bit of drama and exaggeration. Gate 12, the same thing coming off of the throat, that can definitely be exaggerated. But then there's the enthusiastic side, which is gate 16. Now, gate 16 right now, as I'm doing this podcast, Gate 16 is lit up, and it is the sun sign, but it will quickly shift into gate 35, which is another throat center. Both, have a lot of power in the sense of gate 16 coming off the throat. That's all about just enthusiasm and the wisdom that you are. And we have the full channel going down to the spleen. And then it flips it into gate 35. And 35 really has to do more with wanting to share your experiences, especially if you're emotionally in the mood to share those experiences. And that's truly a Gemini type of energy, because when Geminis are in the mood to talk and experience and express, it is so fun and bubbly. And then the pivoting side of that is in a split second. That's where we get the twin aspect of Gemini. We can all flip into saying something that might be a little bit hurtful, a little ouchy. So I think we've got the energy and the potential for this month of June to have maybe new ways, fresh new ways of communicating who we are as individuals, and you'll have potentially a larger audience to listen to as long as it's being asked for. And I think that's the sense that we always have to remember. Anything coming off of the throat center is something that should be invited in order for it to land. So of course, if you have your crew, if you have your family, if you have your followers, if you do social media or within your business, they want to hear what you have to say, right? You might have something to say that's really unique unto themselves. And that's the energy that we have just within this Gemini season. And then seeing what the transits are, it's all about how is it that I can manifest the things that I want. So this is what I would say. I think for some of you, you're going to be planting new seeds for what it is that you're wanting to invest in. And with that gate 16, right, that's going on currently, it ends pretty quickly, but it does come back, I think, later in the month, doesn't it? No, I lied. It does not. But that gate 16 is really about I experiment, right? Like it's always looking for experience through enthusiasm. And it kind of has this knowing that it's all going to work out. I don't know how, but I'm just going to jump in with both feet without really looking what direction I'm going into. Pure Gemini energy. And then we go into gate 35, which will be the next sun sign, which is pretty key. And that one is I feel, again, because it's pointing down to your emotional center. So for you, it could be very much in verbal or written form that you're really wanting a new experience and you want change. And that's what gate 35 speaks about. It speaks about change. So think about that for yourself and think about that as a global scale. We are going and are in the midst, if you're in the United States, you're really in the midst of massive change going on. And it doesn't matter whether you like this person or not. I'm not getting political, but it just shows you. I think it's very interesting just what's been going on with Trump, with all of the court stuff, because we just got the notification that all 34 counts he's now a felon. Anyways, he himself is a Gemini. And so he's a great example of how quickly you can shift what you believe and what you see. And I know that just saying his name triggers a lot of people, but for me, observing how he communicates is the true emphasis at times of Gemini, not necessarily in its highest form, because it will change and pivot what it wants to say if it feels wounded, right? And of course, obviously, anybody can understand that he's definitely a wounded type of person by the way he speaks. And like if you are somebody or you're surrounded or you have a lot of Gemini energy in your chart, you will notice that what you're speaking of is either going to take you into the dimension of what it is that you desire, this new way of being, or it's going to take you down a trajectory that's going to feel really heavy and awful. And it's mutable. He's very mutable. He can bounce all over the place. He can say whatever he needs to say with whomever he's with. So just think about that in the essence that we are going to start to see more of that this month. We're going to see people who are in their integrity that are going to pull you into dimensions and to beautiful spaces of mind, because it's a very intellectual type of energy, but it also is the manifesting energy. So I really feel like what you play with this month. So let's say you get down a trajectory where you're not feeling good about something and you're not doing the self-care. And self-care, I'm not talking about, getting a pedicure or, having great meals brought into you. I'm talking about self-care as in, are you making a point to clear your mind? That's really important during this type of season because of the potential of manifesting and where I see the gates in the charts and everything else that's happening in the skies. And I will possibly do another more detailed one later in the month. But for right now, just understand the beginning of the month is get the practice in to clear the mind. How do we clear the mind? Well, for some people, they do it through yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong or just pure plain meditation. And clearing the mind and allowing yourself to be more immutable, to dance in the energies that work for you could be very potentially uplifting. It could pivot you into the areas of which some of the things that you planted a while back might be coming into fruition, or the fact that you might be planting new seeds for yourself for the month of June. But no matter what that is, making sure that how you're perceiving your world, expressing your world, because manifestation happens to the throat center, meaning in human design, we see that the throat center is the pure potential for everything I want to desire and manifest. And so we've got a lot of energy in there. And so what you're saying to yourself, you're creating. We know that, right? The good, the bad, and the indifferent. We are constantly creating all day long. But when something pivots and it's something that doesn't feel great, the more you talk about it, the more you extend the energy behind it, the more it will appear in your world. And so this is a really potential time I truly see for the planet to begin to do some healing exercises, because of what I see in the moon's seasons and what I see in human design. And, because we are in a political year, and because a lot of people have really taken a stance on one side or the other, and they're saying, I am this, right? A lot of Gate 20 energy coming out. I am a Republican. I am Democrat. And I think what we've forgotten is that we don't have to identify with either one of those. We can actually learn to identify with what feels and resonates best for me and get rid of the idea that if somebody within your party wants to do something in a specific way and it doesn't work for you, that you're able to speak up about that. I think some of this stuff has gotten the United States is really good at pointing the fingers. And I believe our culture has really culminated a place of they versus us. And I think that's part of why we're seeing the turbulence going on, especially in this election season. I don't think a ton of people are really excited about what I've seen, not rah-rah by either party at this moment, which I think is a wake-up call. We are in the United States' returns. We got a lot of energy going on in Gate 51, which is our Chiron, and we've got our Pluto return happening. So, you think about when we began as a country, which is July 4th, which is right around the corner, right? Which is that is a Cancer energy, but right before Cancer obviously is Gemini. And so we've got this buildup right now of energies of how is it that we do want to see it. We want to make sure that people in general, human beings, are treated with care and compassion and love and understanding, and that everybody has their basic needs met, right? I think most human beings on the planet would agree with that. And with this beautiful energies of Gemini and doing I experiment and I feel currently, which is encouraging, but can also be discouraging. You need to think about what you're spending your time on. What are you thinking about? Because it will expand in this energy. And shifts will happen very quickly. I myself, I'm tired of hearing myself speak about this, but I think it needs to be said again. One of the downloads I received at the beginning of this year was the word pivot. And our star brothers and sisters have really been talking about this potential of things pivoting so quickly. We think it's going down one trajectory and it pivots into something else, and it can be shocking to the system. And I would say in this Gemini season, and Gemini is an air sign, and we've got so much energy in air signs in the sign of Gemini, which means things are going to move really, really quickly this month. So what it is that you're spending time on, what you are, if you're spending time on something that doesn't feel good, it's going to expand quite rapidly. If you catch yourself, and that's why I think meditation becomes a big key. If you catch yourself and you become more aware before you say something, and you get yourself in a higher elevated state, is when those manifestations of the things that are of the highest power for you, that are going to give you that unlimited potentials and feeling like I've got this, and and at a new level of consciousness is available to all of us during this month of June. So tell me what your thoughts are. How are you feeling about the month of June? So if something is not going in your perception, in your world, it's not going really well. I think that's one of the reasons why I love the 4 arrows, or what we call variables in human design. If you have your exact birth time and you have a good chart, and if you don't, let me know. But it will tell you your perceptions of things, like truly what it is that how you're supposed to be perceiving your world. And I think not only should it be a focus of, I don't currently like what's happening, so I'm going to play out the scenario and I'm going to speak it into existence for myself. So your goals and your aspirations as an individual right now can feel quite much more expansive. I will say that Gemini energy has a lot of collective energy behind it, which means that it may not feel too much as melancholy as maybe we feel like with Cancer coming up. We'll kind of probably go back more into melancholy, possibly because it's a more of an emotional sign. But with the air sign, and knowing that it's mutable and it can change directions, it can change what it's experiencing at a drop. Like, think of the wind shifting, seeing how a leaf is blowing in one direction, and then once in the next second it's blowing. That's the energy that you have around you. So keeping yourself clear-minded, knowing that your emotional waves, for those of you that are emotionals or have empathy, empathetic, that's the wrong word, or highly sensitive, because I consider all those quite different. Being mindful that that's not the time to declare something for yourself. Go through your wave, go through your emotions, have safe spaces to express them for yourselves, because within the expression, then the clarity of the mind comes, and then the true manifestation can be set, and you're living in a new dimension within all of that. I really do see a lot of people doing quantum leaps this month. And quantum leaps means that you've decided that the reality you're living in right now isn't really being of service for yourself. And so you've got the potential behind all of this to actually say, this is actually what I want. So now I have to live, breathe, and see and live in my perspective, my correct perspective, in order to allow that manifestation to occur in a different dimension. And for some of you, that may sound way out there, and that's okay. Just know that that's a conversation I'll probably have more and more with you all, because I really do believe in the power of our quantum leaps and understanding that we are living every moment that we make a decision. We pivot ourselves into the dimension that says, oh, okay, she made this choice, so this is what's going to happen now. And then the next second, I make a different decision, which pivots me into a different reality, which just tells me that I have control, that if I walk into a reality in this present moment, in this now, I can allow myself to play in whatever is existing. And if I choose that I don't like it, I have to change it. The circumstances don't need to change. I have to change. So I have to change my reality and what I'm saying to myself and my belief systems. And that's why it's a round robin. And I would say that's why meditation, because this is an air sign, people are going to spend a lot of times talking, communicating, thinking, expanding, and manifesting. So knowing that you can, and you do have the power over your mind, whether you believe it or not, especially if somebody's never practiced meditation, you can feel like, I can't control these thoughts. But meditation truly is one of the most enhanced ways that we know of currently, and I think there's going to be new modalities popping up, but it's the only modality that I truly know of that helps us really pivot our belief systems enough that we can create what we want in our reality. But most of us haven't created something big or fabulous for ourselves in a while because you're still operating from a belief system that you believed yesterday that didn't help to create what your reality is now. This energy that you're stepping into in June, I believe, will shift that. You have the capability of doing that more than what you did before, and therefore the quantum leaps can feel very significant for yourself. So blessings, Gemini season, and we've been in it for a little bit. I realize that I'm a little late to the game, but I'll be back on probably later in the month to talk a little bit more about the energies and what's happening. Blessings to you all.